And let's get to it, man. This is the beef between Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders. Prime time. Now, see, the problem is Deion Sanders came into the league. He was Neon Deion. He didn't get the name Prime Time yet. And he had this in Florida. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He was the man. Jerry Rice came in. He was looked at as a decent wide receiver, but they had more criticism of him. He didn't have a lot of the physical attributes that a lot of the other wide receivers had. But what Jerry Rice could do better than anybody was run routes, work ethic, being the consummate professional all the time. Jerry Rice was on point. Anytime he did an interview, he was going to make sure he was dressed from head to toe. And Jerry despised players like Deion Sanders, who he felt was more of a me guy than a team guy. And ever since Deion Sanders came into the Atlanta Falcons, he brought a flair, wearing the headband, the bandana, whatever, and into the league, you know, for his hair and everything, putting the helmet on a certain way, wearing the gloves outside. He brought a swagger to the Atlanta Falcons that wasn't there before. And once he brought that swagger to the Atlanta Falcons, they still weren't, nobody really paid any attention to Deion except for the hood. If you was in the hood, you loved Deion Sanders. You loved Prime Time. He's one of the best corners there was because of his speed. But if you knew his scouting report, he wasn't a great tackler. But they, like he said, they don't pay me to tackle. You didn't throw the ball in his direction. So they felt like, well, we got to get the most out of him. They started letting him return kicks. And you started to see what like 4.2 and 4.3 speed looked like. He could fly. He was so talented. They even, you know, he played baseball as well. So they let him play baseball. He played for the Atlanta Braves. And Jerry Rice looked at this as they're winning Super Bowls now. And Jerry Rice is like, we're the Super Bowl champions, and people are falling for this Deion Sanders, you know, like this guy. And when they played each other, Jerry had some success in the game, and the 49ers would win. But people was talking about how he's a shutdown corner. And it was just shocking to Jerry Rice, because Jerry was like, we've always won against Atlanta. I don't remember Atlanta beating on us. And we're winning the Super Bowl. So, like, I thought that's what this game was all about. So, Atlanta started to look like a team. Like, they were doing okay. They had a wide receiver who was having a hot year, and his name was Andre Bad Moon Rising. And him and Deion Sanders was like partying buddies. And then Deion actually said, well, you know, while they talking about Jerry Rice, you know, my man Andre Rising up here putting up numbers too. You know, and he's not comparing like Jerry Rice to you know, my man Rising. He just, what he's saying is like, hey, don't forget about my guy. You know, like he's in the conversation too. Like, he wasn't taking nothing for Jerry, but Jerry was looking for any reason he could to get some motivation to go into that game when they played Atlanta. And that was it. So it was a lot of pushing, shoving, and when Deion was guarding Jerry Rice, and then they would mostly tune in on other players, and Deion would switch up and guard another player, you know, because he guarded a side. But Rice wanted the ball even when Deion was on him, like, throw me the ball. Jerry was so mentally caught out of the game, he didn't have a great game. But they still dominated the game because they had an all-purpose team, and Montana would use the tight end and go and do what he had to do. Now, the resurgence of the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys is dominating. They're winning 2 Super Bowls in a row. They have a dynasty team on the horizon, and nobody wants them to win 3 championships in a row. So the 49ers kept losing to the Dallas Cowboys in the championship games. You know, and it was just like, look, we gotta get this team ready. You know, they took from us and started winning with Haley, and that was a blow. Once they got Haley, it was nightmarish what they were doing. So what happened and what did happen are 2 different elements altogether. Deion Sanders was going to come to the 49ers and to help them win. They went and picked up Norton. They picked up a lot of other players. They got Ricky Waters. They picked up a lot of players around the league just for this run, for this one season, because they wanted to beat the Cowboys. They loaded up the team to win a Super Bowl because they knew they weren't playing to beat nobody else but Dallas. They changed the uniforms. They got Deion Sanders. That was it. Because the Cowboys was trying to get Deion. But once the departure of Jimmy Johnson happened, everything just went haywire, and Deion ended up going to the 49ers. And once they made the deal to get prime time for the remainder of the year, it was all certain that the 49ers was going to vie for a championship. So they get Sanders, they get all these players, they change their jerseys to match Deion Sanders to match Deion Sanders' shoes. It's all this like design stuff they got on their jerseys. That's how you can tell the 94 team. Look how their uniforms were in 94, and with the black behind it coming out to like match Deion's shoes. Everything was about Deion Sanders. San Francisco was his. I had the first, they weren't even released yet, and I had the prime time Nike shoes in 94. Like, these were the, like, bottom line, the best shoes Nike had made at the time. With those Deion Sanders shoes from the 49ers. Now, once that happened, things began to go in different directions. Meaning that people were holding themselves to certain agendas. Like you had Jerry's side of the team, and then you had people that hung out with Deion. Jerry Rice, Steve Young, those guys never really, or Coach Seifert, never really had a conversation with Deion Sanders like that. They never really had a, coaching type conversation. It was Mariucci who normally spoke to Deion, and then a couple of players like Ricky Waters. Those guys, they talk to primetime. Jerry Rice barely said anything to him whatsoever, except for trying to make it seem like whenever the camera's around, like, don't forget you're on Jerry's team. He always, like, little brother Deion Sanders, like, okay, you my teammate. When the camera's on, smiling but putting his hand like on his shoulders or his head to let him know, like, look, You're on Jerry's team. And don't forget it. So, as time went on, they got to the season and everything's getting ready to go. Winning heals all wounds. So, they getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. And Deion had got an interception, scored a touchdown, and a playoff game. And when she did that, got an interception, he scored a touchdown, and he did his dance and did his little thing, and he got over there. Jerry was like, be respectful. You know, he told him that, and he just looked at him like, all right. And then he went off to the side. They won the game, Super Bowl week. Jerry went, talked to George Seifert, said, George, I want to push for the players to have a little bit of a longer curfew, this year for the Super Bowl. We worked real hard this season. We're not a wild bunch, but let's push to have a, earlier curfew for the players. I mean, a later curfew, because players was like, man, the curfew's too early, man. People knew the 49ers was going to win. They were favored by almost 20 points. Nobody gave the Chargers a shot on winning that Super Bowl. So, Jerry just wanted to make sure they won it. That players went through him, and they were glad that players expressed the fact that, hey Jerry, this curfew is ridiculous. So Jerry went in there, talked to George, and got the players, an extension on their, they could stay out later. And, well, Lord and behold, Tuesday night, I don't know what happened on a Tuesday night, about 20 of the players came in well after curfew. So, the next day, Wednesday, Super Bowl is Sunday, Coach Seifert calls a meeting and digs into the players. The guys that were late and everybody else. He dug into the whole team. He gets up, he walks out. Jerry Rice gets up there. And Jerry Rice let the players have it. Now, the story comes out, they had an altercation before the Super Bowl. Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders. Jerry Rice addressed the entire team, not just Deion Sanders. And the media and the press showed Jerry, Deion. Because those were the two main stars of the whole team and the whole situation. And it's this problem between Jerry and Deion is still going on. Because Jerry don't like the fact that Deion Sanders was late. It was 20 other players that was late. Just for an example, about 20 some odd players missed curfew. Not just Deion Sanders, but the story is Deion and Jerry Rice. So after this was over, they going into it, and Deion's looking like, man, come on, it's Wednesday. We finna blow these guys out by 40. This team they can't contend with us. We got this. Don't worry about it. We'll be ready to play when it's game time. Just believe that. So all of a sudden, things started to change. Meaning that even though they got what's his name? Deion Sanders, they still had to play the game. They won by 30. The game's completely over. Prime time just really wasn't into it. He just was like, I'm going to go on off by myself. He had family members. He won, and it didn't really give him the excitement he thought he was going to get from winning it. Because the game was pretty much over from like the second or third quarter. The game was over. So it was just a formality of just going through the rest of the quarters. So it really didn't hit him that they had won the Super Bowl like he thought. He had got to Game 7 of the World Series as a baseball player. And now this. So everybody's celebrating. They had a big parade. Then Jerry Jones knows that he's a free agent. And San Francisco is, they want to keep Deion Sanders. But here's the thing. Everybody on the 49ers that season was basically like, I'm out. Like, this is it. The owner can't keep all of us. Steve Mariucci's gone. Ricky Waters is getting ready to leave. And he's like, man, you staying? Like, we all leaving. So he looking like, man, this team's breaking up. Like, these guys are alright, but this is Jerry Rice's team, and I don't know if I want to come back and deal with Jerry. And now George Seifert, who really act like he didn't want Deion Sanders there anyway, and it wasn't his decision to bring in Deion. The only guy he really talked to, Mariucci, was leaving. Am I saying, hold on, I might be saying that wrong. I don't know if it was Mariucci or Mike Shanahan. It might have been Mike Shanahan. Sorry about that. Because I know Mike Shanahan and Ray Rhodes was on the team at the time, I think. And it was Mike Shanahan, Ray Rhodes, and Ricky Waters. They was leaving. So, Deion wasn't the only one to leave, is what I'm trying to say. But when he left and went to Dallas, Michael Irvin was talking to him the whole time. Jerry Jones was talking to him the whole time. Once they got a hold and got a grasp on Deion, it was over, because it was embarrassing for San Francisco, because Jerry Rice couldn't believe, like, oh, that's it, San Francisco's done. Like, that's it, Dallas has got Deion Sanders, it's all over. And that just ticked. Jerry Rice had went into total explosion. Like, him and Deion Sanders can't coexist because they're two different personalities when it comes to getting things together. The media made Jerry Rice go ballistic. I mean, and it came out in his play. Jerry was a cool character. You never seen him he would never let you publicly see him outside his character. Jerry Rice did a press conference when Deion Sanders signed a 7-year, $35 million deal with the Cowboys. And here he comes out there, because the press is like, he won the Super Bowl for the 49ers. Deion wins the Super Bowl for the 49ers, now he's going to Dallas. And that pissed Jerry off. Rice hit there and said, we angry as a group. We went and won a Super Bowl. No one individual won the Super Bowl. It's an insult to the guys who bust their butts during minicamp. And the entire season, he was cursing up a storm. And he was, you have insulted everybody here. I mean, he just went crazy. He was like, you, Eric Davis, Harrisburg, Tim McDonald, Ricky Jackson, he kept praising Eric Davis, and like, you guys are disrespected. We got other guys out there, not just Deion Sanders, Merton Hanks. You just disrespected all these guys. So Jerry was really ticked. So when they played again, he was so focused on that game and trying to destroy the 49, the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Rice's brain was gone. He wanted the ball from the very first play. And they fought. Him and Deion Sanders was fighting on the line of scrimmage. As soon as they said hike, they had to throw the ball to him, and they had Elvis Grbac in there. Steve Young was hurt basically almost the whole season, and Elvis Grbac was the guy in there, and everybody thought they were going to get blown out, and they came and beat down the Cowboys that game. And Jerry Rice was standing there like, yeah. And he was just standing over, to looking at the Cowboys like, yeah, we the champs. Y'all not the champs. Like, Jerry Rice wanted that game more than any player on the field. And Deion Sanders was hurt. Like, he had a hamstring injury. So they didn't even know if he was going to play that game. But he ended up playing. And he wasn't, he didn't have a stellar game. He played all right. He didn't really give up too much. Jerry got some touchdowns, but it wasn't on him. And they just lost. The team didn't put up enough offense, didn't put up a lot of points. But at that point, it was the rising of the tides, and the Green Bays and the Brett Favres was getting ready to put those guys out of business. And when they lost the playoff game to the Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers, people were asleep and didn't notice that other teams were getting better. But prime time and Jerry Rice, those two didn't get along, and then they did something stupid and tried to put them on some type of show where in the Pro Bowl they're going to have a fantasy football team of Jerry Rice's versus Deion Sanders' team. And they sitting there talking junk in the studio. Jerry's getting mad all over again because Jerry Rice cannot do. He's like, it's not about you, Deion. Once again, it's not about you because it's about the team. And Deion just be having fun and poking at him because Deion don't care. He's not playing no more. He's like, look, I'm not playing no more. I'm not out there. But I was a bad man. And he always showed respect. Even back then, Deion has shown respect to Jerry Rice. And said he's one of the best wide receivers, if not the best, to ever play the game. To ever play the game. So, his thing is, Jerry has the problem with him. He don't have a problem with Jerry. Everything Deion got, Jerry was upset because he felt it should have went to the players that put in a lot of work, and he felt that Deion represented a negative image to what an NFL player should be. Conduct. Everything they did, it was just bad. And Jerry felt those principles and foundations shouldn't have been glorified by the NFL, and they was. So he was mostly mad about that than just Deion Sanders. But it's like Allen Iverson and Michael Jordan. It's like one of those situations. The brash, young, I know it all personality versus the guy who's experienced, been in there, knows what it takes, and came up a different way and look at life differently. But Deion wasn't what they saw. He was more to him than what you saw on the field. He was actually very articulate and very astute and very to himself. He was very grateful for everything that he had. He often gave respect to other players, things that they didn't see because you saw what happened on the field and thought he was just this arrogant, brash punk, which wasn't true. But over the years, they've all just laughed it off, like what they do when you get older. You realize how ridiculous the majority of the things you done were and how childish they were, so you just go from there. But anyway, that's all that happened there. I'm out.